Alright, Brap Gang, so we're finally getting to the point where I think I can really give my opinion on the Riot. We got about 500 miles on it. I've done some trail riding, some off-trail riding, some deep snow stuff, some kind of like medium or typical upstate, you know, foot of snow type riding. The one thing I can definitely say about this sled is it is an absolute monster on trail.
This is a super sure-footed trail sled, like one of the most confidence-inspiring crossovers on trail that I've ridden. I would have to give it that.
If that's what you're looking for, I think this is a really good sled. I think there's a lot of people out there that buy assaults hoping for a little off-trail capability and a super trail-capable sled, and not that that sled isn't that, but with the tipped up rails and the uncoupled skid, a lot of guys are constantly trying to tune out the front end lift on the sled. This sled, you don't have that problem. It handles just like a typical trail sled. You don't get any inside corner ski lift. You don't get the crazy wheelies when you take off on the line. A little bit of front end lift to kind of get you over, you know, the trail muck and all the garbage, but nothing too crazy. I can genuinely say I think the front end on the Arctic Cat is the best front end on snow. I know that SnowTrack says that the Polaris front end's really good, and I'm not saying that it's bad, but this front end keeps the inside ski down like no other, gets through the bumps really well, and I have to say, as far as trail performance goes, you can't beat this front end. Unfortunately, what makes this front end so good on trail is kind of a detriment off. So yesterday I was playing around in about 1.5 foot of fresh snow with this. Today I was playing around in maybe like 10 inches, and it is really hard to get this sled up on edge or even just like kind of oriented in one direction.
Yeah, it's still really planted on the front end. Like, I can kind of get it up on one ski, but it wants to kind of force its way back down.
So that makes it harder to kind of control it in deep snow. The Pro Climb skis are really good for flotation, but nothing's gonna really make the sled change direction in deeper snow other than your input with your body language. And with this sled, it just doesn't do it. You know, as soon as you lean into it, it wants to correct itself. So, you know, that's obviously a good front end design on trail, but off trail, it kind of makes it harder to enjoy.
The sled wants to get itself flat. It stays flat well, but you can even tell just throwing your body, the weight transfer gets it to kind of lean, but then as soon as it leans and the momentum of your body moving kind of wears off, it's boom, it's right back flat. You really can't just stay to one side and get the sled to kind of baby carve, if that makes sense. So like not full on edge, but just kind of a little bit more weight on one side than another.
You can kind of work around it, and if it's the only sled you ride, I don't think it'll bother you too much. But if you do go to a backcountry or an assault, it's something that I think will bother you, because I can hang a ski on my assault and change direction no problem. A little throttle input, you're going. With this, you can get a little throttle input, get it up on one side, but it really wants to pull itself back down, and it definitely tries to do that.
Yeah, it just wants to stay flat. Oh man. Yeah, it's fighting me, man. I don't know.
So I kind of have to bring it back to what I said last year when I rode it. It's a 70-30 sled.
Now that in no way means the sled is bad. I don't want people to think that that's like what I'm insinuating with it. It's just different. You know, it's not, it isn't pound for pound an exact assault fighter. It just isn't. The assault has some negative on-trail characteristics. A lot of guys hate that it's always lifting the front end. You know, they try to tune that out of it. It does have a lot of push with the stock skis. This has less push for sure. This can keep the front end down a lot better. You know, those are things that I think make it really good on trail, but they do off trail make it kind of suffer. I wasn't sure if there was some magical way Arctic Cat, you know, was able to balance a little bit better on trail performance with a little bit better off, but I'm just not seeing it.
You can definitely have fun off trail with the sled if you're just going to play around on occasion, and it's going to handle amazing on trail, like second to none. You know, this is the perfect sled for my dad because he doesn't want to wrestle a sled all day, and this sled is, you can ride it laid back, you can ride it aggressive. You know, like I said, on the upper end there isn't really a lot of performance to be gained over like that 80 percentile, you know what I mean? Like when you're riding really hard and you hit like 80%, the 90 and 100, the sled pushes too much to really change it all. No matter where you're putting yourself on the sled, how much you try to pull yourself into the front of the cab or move towards the back, it doesn't really do anything. I think that could be cured with some CNA Pro skis, but right now with the stock skis, you would need a really aggressive carbide, and then I think it might get a little twitchy on trail. So, you know, it's definitely something I think could be cured with the right part, but I haven't really figured out for myself what that part is yet.
I've played with the QS3s. 3 is stiff, 2 feels pretty good. 1's too soft in my opinion, even at my weight. You know, my dad and I both seem to like 2. I had the girlfriend ride it at 1. She was pretty happy with that, but I would say otherwise 2 is definitely the sweet spot, which is a big plus about QS3s. I think they work their best at that middle setting.
As far as the new engine, it feels pretty good. The low end and the mid-range feel decent. I would say the lower part of the mid-range feels really strong. As you start to get to the upper part of the mid-range and the top end, the sled kind of falls on its face. Everybody that I've had ride it has noticed that as soon as you hit around 70, the sled just doesn't really have much left. You know, it's unfortunate, but it's just how it is. I think you can still have fun in most situations with this engine, but it's when you're trying to carry speed in the upper mid-range or for like lake racing and stuff, this sled might leave you a little bit disappointed. So just something to keep in mind there. Fit and finish wise, I have had some trouble with the decals peeling now. Just on the side panels, nothing on the tunnel.
You know, a lot of guys online are kind of defending that, you know, oh, if you warranty it, you can get different decals. I don't know. I think after this long hard catch, I should have figured it out. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. I had the same problem on my 16 and now I have it on my 20, so just something that I think needs to be figured out.
I've had 3 different codes come across the screen. I've heard it's because wires can touch on the exhaust and start to melt, so I kind of moved everything around. I didn't notice anything too severe melting, and they've seemingly gone away for right now. I was getting code U1212, which is loss of connection to the left side handlebar controls. I was getting P1003 and P1004. The one that scared me the most was 1003 because that has to do with the oil pump. So luckily that's cured for now. Doesn't seem like there's been any big issues with it.
It does have this hanging idle, but I guess that's so that it doesn't shoot flames. They have it set up a little higher to burn off excess fuel, so there is a reason behind it. The sled gets a little bit worse gas mileage than my 850. I would say it's probably getting like 9 miles to the gallon, maybe 8.
So the big question, what would I pick between this and an Assault? For me, I would pick an Assault. I know that I'm going to get, oh, you're biased, you've had 2, all that. I really, going into this sled, was expecting this to make me so excited about that 50-50 crossover that I could change what my second sled was to being a little bit more hardcore, maybe like a SKS, backcountry, something like that.
But for me, you know, I just want a little bit more. I want the ski lifting power in the powder. This just can't do it. I want to be able to hold the sled on edge and not have to fight it as much. It takes a lot of body language to get this sled to stay on edge. It doesn't really make it a bad thing, it just makes it different.
I found with this sled, it's so trail friendly. It really does feel like a trail sled that can go off trail. So kind of like those original 137-inch trail sleds, you know, they had the extra flotation, but they were trail sleds. Somehow with this uncoupled skid that Arctic Cat designed for this sled, it still manages to do that. I'm not really sure how.
Flotation's definitely pretty good. I do feel it kind of trenching down. The sled's not really floating, it's kind of skis up and pulling, so it's an interesting experience. Ooh, these trenched out spots are a vibe. No problem keeping going though. I can definitely slow down pretty good.
I kind of think that it trenches a little bit, and because of the trenching, you have good flotation with the skis, and that's kind of why you can't get it up onto edge very well. But that's just my assessment. You know, other guys might feel differently about the whole thing. Who knows? I had my friend Kevin ride it. He doesn't really ride sleds, and he said he prefers this sled. So my dad prefers it. He prefers it. I think if you're, you know, just getting into crossover riding, this is a sled that you can handle well. It's not going to be too crazy off trail. You know, you can enjoy the flotation, enjoy the on-trail capabilities, but it's not going to be anything too overwhelming as an overall package with the power and the sled itself. If you guys have any more questions, definitely let me know down below. I'll keep updating you guys as the season goes on with this sled, but for now, that's kind of where I'm at. Still really happy with the choice.
I just want to say also to everybody out there, I'm not trying to like bag on the Riot. I'm not trying to like hate on the Riot. I just want you guys to have the most honest opinion I can give. So, you know, I think there are some guys that are on assaults that really would enjoy a Riot more. But if you are really trying to get more into off-trail riding, getting the sled on edge, boondocking, you know, the powder wheelies, all of that stuff that might be a cliche to some people, if that is your goal, then assault's going to be a better choice. At least when it comes to the regular Riot. So, you know, that's kind of where we're at.
I think as far as trail-friendly crossovers go, this is one of the top ones without a doubt. And if you choose a Riot, I think you will really enjoy it. But like I said, if you want that little bit of extra, you know, hot dog kind of off-trail sled, I would look at something more like an Assault, and I think you'd enjoy it more.